11.
Did they start you with the BB gun, or did they ease you in with like here's a 12 gauge? It doesn't kick.
I think it was a 12 gauge BB gun in my mind. Yeah.
I remember shooting a shotgun for the first time. I was a big kid, but they were like, "Hey, man, it's gonna kick," and it definitely did put a big whelp on my arm. And I still try to avoid shotguns to this day. How old were you when you first shot a gun?
4.
BB gun or
no? It was 22.
They don't kick at all.
No, but we had 10 acres in Latimer, so my stepdad, he had a little setup for us. We just like shoot Saturday morning.
Train.
Yeah, my mom didn't like it. My mom was pretty strict about it, but
there's states out there that don't. I mean, most of my friends the same. They started, but there's states out there where people are like, they're in their 50s, 60s, and they've never even done it.
Real quick though, have you ever been tased?
I have.
What does that feel like?
It's terrible.
Explain it for us. Describe it.
Was it like a claw taser?
So yes, when we went through the training, they used alligator clips, one to the left shoulder and that little soft spot there, and one to the ankle to make certain that we got the full effect.
So that's like nipple clamps, like these things right here. Okay. What is the one that actually sticks in you?
So that is the actual taser itself, the darts.
Okay.
It's propelled by CO2.
I've just seen them. They look painful.
They do.
I've also been watching episodes of Cops where the guys just like rip them out and they're like, oh, come on, that doesn't even phase them at all. Is there like a max amp that they turn those up to, or?
No, they're set.
Okay.
They're set. There are a lot of volts and low amps.
Right on.
I mean, that's gonna be crazy though. Like,
did you bring one so you could tase me and Jordan?
I didn't. I can drive
it. Next time, bring a taser.
I did get choked out. We both got choked out by Brandon Davis on.
I tased myself on my mom's taser, but it was like one of them, cheap, low voltage. It hadn't been low voltage because I tased myself with it. I just wanted to see what it felt like, but it wasn't like super high volt. It was a little pink one she had in her purse, and I pulled it out, and it blistered my finger. And I pulled it out and just.
What about pepper spray?
That's terrible as well.
Is that issue? Is that standard issue? Everybody gets the pepper spray, or
so once they go through the training, they can carry it. Yes,
I like that. I do like the fact that if you want to carry it, you got to feel it,
and we do. The only good thing about taser compared to pepper spray is when the taser's over, it's over.
It's over, and the pepper spray.
You're upset, you hurt, but it's over. And pepper spray lasts. It'll come back and get you the next day.
Really? So me and Jordan did the 1-chip challenge. I assume it was probably similar to that. I don't know if you've ever heard of the 1-chip challenge. It's like the world's hottest chip. And
yeah, it's like
it was the dumbest thing we've ever done.
And I did it, and we did we filmed it, and it's like a chip, like a Dorito chip. You're supposed to eat it and hold it for 5 minutes. Well, it was real powdery, and I coughed, and it just went up in my sinuses. Well, I just ended up looking.
I just assumed that's what, the pepper spray.
I just remember running to the bathroom and washing my face and crying. I cried.
Yeah, I did too. It was bad. I sat here and tried to entertain people while I was just like, while he bailed on me. Right. And literally it did mess me up. I just remember looking at the camera and I get these tears running down my face. And I was like, well, Jordan, we've proven it again that we're not the two brightest individuals here on the coast.
So let's get into this. Let's thank our sponsors before we get into this very intense night. It's gonna be like 60 Minutes style. I feel it.
Boom, boom.
Shout out to Golden Gulf Insurance Services, Biloxi, Mississippi, commercial, auto, builder's risk. We got you covered. 228-207-0298.
Gulf South Productions.
Yeah.
Those guys put on a heck of a show at the Neptune Ball this weekend. I don't know if, it was absolutely nuts. Daniel and the guys, they got all your staging, lighting, and sound needs. Gulf South Production, go check them out.
You want to go ahead and announce who we have on the show?
Yeah, we have the Elias brothers, but we got one of them off screen.
Yeah.
Okay. He's the uglier of the two. But Louis Elias, welcome.
Thank you.
Hey man, we're glad to have you, dude. Glad to have you.
So why law enforcement?
Whew, man, you sound like my dad.
I'm just curious.
That's gracious.
That's just
that brought back memories. Law enforcement for me started at a very young age. I wanted to be in law enforcement, dreamed of serving as sheriff one day as early as kindergarten. Someone asked me when I started politicking, I said, it's been about 43 years ago.
And so whenever you were a kid, you were like dressing up as a cop for Halloween, or
So it was
you playing
actually
cops and robbers in the neighborhoods?
Yeah, well, that too. We had a career day, so to speak, at St. Thomas Kindergarten. And my sister somehow produced a picture of me back then that resurfaced. Over a big thank you for. Yeah.
Revenge is best served cold.
Can we get that photo sent to us?
Anyone?
We'll make merch out of it.
I'm sure. I'm sure you can.
So,
yeah, is it in the family? Did you have any uncles, dads? I mean, where did it come from, do you think?
No, I think living proof is a calling.
Okay.
No doubt.
Was there one instance to where you were like, hey, man, this is definitely...
And I'm telling you, thinking back that long ago, I just remember vividly the thoughts of aspiring to do what it took to get into law enforcement. And it continued on as life went on. 13 years old, working summer jobs at USM. That's where the Law Enforcement Training Academy first came to be there. And irony and fate would set in from there.
what kind of jobs when you first became an officer? What was your first job?
So full time was patrol.
How old were you around here?
About 19 years old.
So they just let anybody be cops at 19.
We were born in 86.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, y'all are gonna make me feel old.
So what year is this?
1994 was
No cell phones.
first year full time. 2 years before that was doing some internships and ride-alongs.
What was was it a Caprice?
It was propane powered, and then we went to the gasoline, and things sounded awfully mean, but was going nowhere.
What was the craziest, like, all right, you're new to this job and you're like, oh my gosh, did I pick the right career choice here? What was the craziest thing that happened to you back then?
Wow. Yeah, there's several times I can think of. Man, one night, things are normally quiet. I started out in the city of Long Beach, and back in those days, there wasn't a whole lot going on there for dinner. Hey, it was fast lane and old hot dog off the rotator there that'd been there maybe a day or two.
Yeah.
So everyone was ordering food into the station, and I decided to go out. They put a suspicious vehicle call out. I ended up in a foot pursuit in Gaston Point, and thinking, man, all my backups at the station eating fried chicken about right now. Was when you check yourself, for sure.
I bet you caught him.
One of them.
One of
I
them?
did, yes.
Did you jump a fence?
I did.
Did you like human net them when you caught them?
I don't know if you'd call it that.
I mean,
Goldberg spear?
Wasn't that pretty.
So keep in mind, we're like Police Academy. I taught you about it. I love Police Academy. Love Steven Seagal movies.
I've been watching Cops since I can remember.
Yeah.
Bad Boys, what you gonna do? Which I don't think they air that anymore now.
No.
They something. I mean, you guys are getting such a tough beat here recently. I mean, like me and Jordan said, like you couldn't pay us to do this, but we will gladly come and interview one. Tell us about the ride-alongs, like before you were actually in. Is that something that you just asked to do, or was it something that you kind of had an in on? Or
So I was attending Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College.
Go Dogs.
We had a great criminal justice
We're
program.
talking Gaucher?
Actually, I was in Harrison County.
Okay.
So they introduced us to the opportunity. It consisted of some credit hours, and I took full advantage of it, man. It was a great learning experience.
So you did kind of like how they do the military with the officers, where you get credited, college credits to be an officer.
yeah, let's talk about that degree. It's the criminal. What is it?
Criminal justice.
Yeah, they have a criminal justice program there at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College.
What does that entail?
So it depends on how far you go with it. You start there with your associate's degree and go on to USM to further that.
Like forensics and stuff like that? Because I feel like that would be cool.
Most of it at Mississippi Gulf Coast is basic. It was when I was there. We do a lot of their course objectives through our training academy.
Okay.
We did when I was there. But yeah, it gives people a great start, great insight into the program, and And again, the best learning experience for me is hands-on. So
Same.
the ride-along program was great.
Man, I struggled with the classroom learning. I'm like, throw me in, and I'm probably not going to get it the first
Tell
time.
you're dyslexic, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely dyslexic. But doing that then, what's your ties with them now? Are you going back? Are you doing anything with the same program now as a full-time, I guess, officer?
So I stepped aside from the sheriff's office just recently,
Okay.
January the 20th. But one of the honors I had was serving as a director of the training academy. That's the job where I finished to leave and run for sheriff. That position was part of a partnership with Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College that proved through history the last 13 years to be an extremely successful program on all fronts. We partnered with them as a sheriff's office to operate our training academy. Great program. It allowed these guys and girls that are coming through to not only have the Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College behind their training, but also to earn college credit hours at the same time.
Which, like, yeah, sign the smart kids up for that. I don't want to do that. But you getting to go full circle on it is pretty sweet, in my opinion. I think that's neat.
Absolutely.
Guys, before we get really deep into this, y'all share this. Let's get this reach out there. He's going for Harris County Sheriff. And it's kind of a big deal. This is just being honest. Like,
we can't wait to golf in your golf tournament.
It's a very serious job.
Right.
It's a very dangerous and serious job.
It is.
So I'm catching you that you love being a part of the youth and community in law enforcement because it impacted you. You know, so I see that, like, you're talking to Matt and everything has to do with college involved. And your brother's a principal too. So I just think you're probably right about that because that is you catch them while they're young. Get them ready to go while they're young and build them.
What were they called when we were kids?
Explorers.
Explorers.
Yeah,
Is that still a term?
We still have an Explorer program, and it's a great program.
What did me and Jordan get to have to do to get a ride along?
So
can we bring a camera?
Yes, I'm a firm believer in the ride along program. I think that it helps to engage our community. It helps for them to have a direct insight into what's going on in our community. Some of the things that they don't see when they're home sleeping at night. But having kids involved, man, you can.
What's the age to be a police officer now?
21.
You can't be 18. You got to be emancipated or something.
So department policy dictates that. But yes, you could be emancipated if the department's policy allowed that. I'm a product of an emancipation. Judge Costa Valajos emancipated me at 19 years old.
Was that strictly to become a police officer, or were you trying to go get your drinking on earlier? I just heard about emancipation back then. No, it's still very spotty on me.
To become a law enforcement.
So Long Beach, you guys are born and raised in Long Beach, right?
Yes.
All right. What year did you graduate?
91.
Did you play ball there?
I did not.
No.
I was
in the band?
No band.
Flag twirler.
School and work. That was it. Like school and work.
All right. So I always like it over there. I feel like the school and everything's just so close to the water. And I'm addicted to the water. I drive down 90 every day. I just want to check it out. I'm like, oh yeah, I can fish today, or no, I couldn't fish today.
I used to live in Long Beach off of Railroad Street. Yeah. My step Charles Glenn, he was the enterprise guy at Long Beach. He lived off of like 8th Street, where the storage unit is on Railroad.
Right.
Mr. Charles, he was a Navy guy, old guy, had that little house. Well, my dad built the house behind there. So I'd honestly stayed at my dad's, and still went to St. Martin. But I kind of fell in love with, Long Beach. My mom's brother, Shane Walker, he's Long Beach. My uncle Jerry, he works at Pepsi. Jerry Walker, he's Long Beach. And then Stephen Henson.
I just remember Darwell's. Darwell's is fire.
Yes.
Whatever happened to that place?
It's a good city though.
It's open.
Is it open?
The food is as good as ever.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
And
great atmosphere.
I miss the Daiquiri Bar, Eagle Island.
Yes.
So did y'all grow up fishing, hunting? I know you and I got to talk about some hunting. So
I grew up fishing a lot here. Then our boat broke down so many times that.
What kind of boat is this?
Oh my goodness, man!
And can we insure it?
Yeah, I think it's probably long gone by now. It was an old boat that we had to change the name on it to call in on the radio to get towed in.
It was an embarrassing name.
Yeah.
I've got a bride on a boat like that as well. It's a rite of passage. I'll say that. So what y'all, trout fishermen, redfish? Where'd y'all go catch?
We were out for anything that would bite it.
Anything that was okay. I'm with you.
We knew that we had plenty of time to fish because we had to wait on somebody to tow us in.
What about now? Are you still sportsman?
My brother's more of a fisherman than I am. When I find the time to go on the boat, I'm more of the island guy. Just hanging out.
You want your feet in the sand.
Yes.
You want to relax.
Just
No cell phone.
Just an exhale.
Disconnect.
See, if that was me, I would have to have a captain.
That's me right here. So
I don't want to
y'all
drive
can
myself.
hang out. Y'all can do the fishing stuff, and we'll eat it. How about that?
Yes.
Y'all, like I always say, like, you know, Matt hunts and downstairs I have deer meat in the refrigerator. He doesn't even like deer meat.
I'll eat some of it, but yeah, no.
But so he killed 4 deer like 2 weeks ago, right? How many deer did you kill?
3 weeks ago.
3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's good food.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good weekend.
I got to tell you, hunting, my grandfather, my mom's father was from Louisiana. He introduced me to hunting and skeet shooting, and my sons and I, that's my favorite place to be, man. That's
what was his nickname? What'd you call him? Like I call my grandfather Pawpaw. What was his?
Grandpa.
Grandpa? Okay.
Yes, Grandpa.
Okay. I'm trying to picture it in Louisiana guy. You know what I mean? Is this the guy? Y'all have a grocery store, right?
Well, that was my dad's father.
Okay.
We called him Papu.
Papu.
Yes.
What kind of grocery store is this?
It was in Mississippi City.
Where's that?
Gulfport.
Gulfport.
We called the area around Tea Garden Road.
Man, this must have been way before my time.
Tea Garden?
Mississippi City.
Mississippi City.
Never even heard that. This is the first time I've ever heard this. Had
Roy's Grocery and then Elias Grocery on Jeff Davis Avenue in Long Beach.
Really? So what, you just didn't want to keep up with that? Like, yeah. Is there still a grocery in the family, or did y'all sell it? Is it gone?
It's gone. Yes.
Did you bag any groceries?
I never bagged groceries. I've busted tables, and my goodness.
How did you guys do during Katrina over there?
We were very fortunate. My grandmother's home that was on the beach, they lost a home in Camille, and then lost the home in Katrina, which was, let's see, about 7 days after we lost my grandmother.
You want a mic? You can get in the show if you want.
So tough,
yes.
Real tough. But I mean, that's a lot of work. I know I was at Perk actually whenever it hit with the torn ACL, and we had to come down to just like riddled nothing.
And I stayed on Big Ridge with my grandmother. She was like, I went through Camille, and my grandma was the sweetest lady. She worked at the shrimp factory, smoked probably 2 packs of cigarettes a day, and drank a 6-pack every day after work. She'd sit there and listen to like Fat Dominoes, Otis Redding, Percy Sledge.
Good music.
And you could smell, the shrimp factory on her, but she didn't get out of it. I just still remember I was seeing that the other day. Is like how she would just sit there at the end of the kitchen bar. The old school counters with the brown, remember the old brown counters, like the fake wood counter.
Wow.
And she'd sit there and she'd be like, I remember like Celine Dion, she put Celine Dion on and she'd just get down, Fleetwood Mac. And she'd work all morning. She'd get up at like 3:30 in the morning and she would just work, and she'd get home probably like 2 or 3. And that was her thing. And I don't know, but she was just an old soul. And I remember staying for Katrina. We were Big Ridge off of Lemoyne, and trees were just coming down. And I mean, they were just coming down, but ain't no way we're going to leave her. She's hard headed. I mean, me and my brother had chainsaws and we figured out how to get out. But yeah, I was watching the first time in my life I watched a tree root itself, like just go, and fall over.
It's amazing.
We don't need hurricanes, guys. They're not fun.
And then you guys got to go on full-time standby afterwards. And
right.
I mean, I could only imagine how much more work you have to do after that.
I tell you it really makes you grateful to see the community we live in, though, because how resilient is this coast?
We're back, baby.
Back.
I'm proud of us.
Yes, no doubt. If that level of catastrophe were to happen anywhere else in this country, would you put money on them bouncing back like this coast has?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't before then, but now I would.
Yeah,
I've seen what we're capable of.
I'm a little more selfish than you. I mean, I could tell that you really do care about the people and you serving the coast. I think that's a big part of why I still can't figure out why you're running for sheriff. That's why I titled this thing, why run for sheriff. And they kind of explain that, because like that, I mean, I can see your heart, like I could tell your heart's in it. And that's important for us because we live in Harris County.
It is. And I'll tell you that, again, it's been a lifelong aspiration. How I envisioned it when it first crossed my mind, and the reality of it is totally different.
Amen to that.
Yes.
That's good, I think.
Yes, no doubt.
I feel the same way about my life.
Yeah, that's the truth.
Can you tell me, like, when you told Amy, your brother, his wife, when you set them all down, what was their thought?
So,
and you gotta be honest with this one.
Oh, I will. Absolutely. Let me back up and add something to the beginning of this.
All right,
story.
come on with it.
So the reaction when I first told my dad that I was going into law enforcement was anything but favorable. And now that I have sons, I understand that. I understand it clearly. The reaction when I told them that I was running for sheriff, because of the political side of it, there was concern. And there was concern that was there that solidified the fact that I'm fortunate to have the family and wife and kids that I do, because they don't want to see a loved one in harm's way. But they also understood how I explained it to them. And I don't mind sharing that with you all, that I truly believe that God brings you to thresholds. You have to choose whether or not to cross that threshold, to withstand the blows that may come on the other side of that threshold, and seize the opportunity. Now, while you're choosing to do that, you have to know that the most important eyes in this world are watching you.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same eyes that were watching my dad, and that's your children's eyes. That is where everything lies. And they have to understand how you face adversity, how you accept these challenges. There's nothing in life easy. Then there's the other side of it where, hey, the truth of the matter is I had worked my way up, maxed out in this agency. It's not about money. The difference in salaries from the job that I chose to step away from and the job that I am seeking is minimal. It is more about an obligation and a desire to serve. Is understanding how serious this job is. We talked about how fortunate we are to live on the coast. When you realize that we're living in a day where the things that we would see on television happening 1,000 miles from here, that you never imagined would happen 2 hours north of here, are happening, you realize how important this job is.
Absolutely. Look at our neighbor over there to, Louisiana a little bit.
Sure.
It's absolutely chaotic over there. You don't even want to go there anymore.
Do you, and right now, and we've talked from time to time, we've met at Captain House. It was a funny story. I was like, yeah, my buddy John, shout out John Carter, was like, great guy. I was like,
he's all right.
Lewis, we were on speakerphone together. We're in the car on speakerphone, and I picked you up in the golf cart. And I was like, I'm going to get to know this guy. This is the guy I'm probably going to support. I heard he's a great guy, and it's you. It's like, and I take you to the judging center at Captain House for Boat and Boots. He's like, hey, I'm like, yeah, it's me. I'm like, and it was just a great experience. And I knew then, I told Emily, I think I knew then at Gumbo Fest. I think when it all came down to it, I can see the way you treated the people of the community. I seen you knew people by their names. That
goes a long way.
Yeah,
right there
you
alone.
You're
genuine.
People came up, and I see this a lot in politics, but people come up to you and you gave them a minute. You didn't have to give them a minute. It was raining. You're sitting out in the rain talking to people, and it's like, I was like, that's why. You're sitting. It was raining on. You didn't have an umbrella, and you were shaking hands and hugging people and laughing. You invited me at your tent. You fed me. We ate.
What did he feed you, Jordan?
Well, they had a tent, and
was it good?
We ate Papania's wife's pickles. What? She makes banging. Dude, yeah. She makes the Papania's wife's pickles are probably they need to be everywhere in every shelf.
Okay,
they do.
I'm telling you, it's the best pickles I've ever had in my life. But I just seen it. I was watching. It was just it was very powerful to see how you approach people, and you wasn't in it. You wouldn't dress like that, which I love to get up. I like it because you look clean. You look GQ. I like it.
That is pretty fly jacket, and those boots are dope.
But you had a certain style to you, and super polite and very friendly. And it's just like, I don't know. I was moved, and I was like, okay, well, you know, I love to vote. I think that's one thing I talk about this all the time is like people always tell me like, you know, yeah, I vote for this person or that, but like truthfully, you don't. You know, I go to my precinct and I vote. I just showed you, like I pulled out my voter card, and that's the problem. Like that's why you need to get your voice out, because if you don't have your voter ID, get it. The only way you're going to make a difference is you don't have to vote. You don't have to vote for Lewis. Like you don't, but vote for who you want to vote. If you live in a city, vote. That's the most powerful thing you can do, because that's where you see change. I'm voting for Lewis because I want certain change, because this is my city. This is what I represent. And I don't want Lewis's job. I don't want that job at all, but I want a person that's fit for it. And I can tell you, when you get that, if something devastating happens, there's always got to be a fall guy. And that's what Lewis is signing up for. He's going to be the person that has to take the interviews, that has to comfort the family, that, you know, like I have this certain respect for Blue Lives Matter. It's something that I really do hold dear. Like I have friends in law enforcement. When I see a cop, even if he's just trying to speed trap me, I still merge to the middle of the lane, because officers have been killed just by cars not. If you see a cop car and there's a couple lanes, move over.
That's always in my
and I do that every time. And it's just something I take pride in that, because, and also if I get pulled over, I stick my hands out the window. Because I mean, and that's a terrifying thing now is like, you know, with the social media, it's kind of like this, like lawless attitude. Like these guys don't make tons of money. I mean, they're putting their lives out there. It's
on every day, really, too.
Yeah. I mean, without law enforcement, we have to have law enforcement. We have to have people to protect us.
So tell me your thoughts on the body cams. That's new. You've seen that come in since you being in the force. What's your thoughts there?
I tell you, at first, I saw how it made the deputies uncomfortable, the officers uncomfortable, but they soon realized those body cams are there to protect them as well.
Oh yeah, because if they get
it really is. It's a level of transparency. Really, really.
I feel like, you know, what's next? Is there anything? I mean, they got them on the dash now. Or they probably started with dash before body. Are they going to do head cams? Are they going to do?
Well, crazy enough, my time on patrol, they didn't have dash cams. We literally created.
They didn't have cell phones when you started.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Though. Throwing them out there like that.
So yeah, I actually went to Radio Shack and bought an 8mm camera.
What's that called?
Yeah, a lot of folks won't know what that is, but man, a 9-volt battery and a body mic, and I soon realized that would prove to be a really valuable tool in law enforcement, no doubt.
Like a tape recorder.
Yes.
Okay, so
a lot of investigations, because
what are you listening to in the car when you're just patrolling around? Is it people radioing?
I gotta get in this body cam thing real quick though, because this is like
get in.
Okay. So when you started catching on to like having that, which we do our lav mics. He had the first lav mic set up. Did you ever have, like, when you put that on you, did it ever save you in situations, in cases?
It did.
When people are like, no, he said this or I said that, and you're like, no, here. This is exactly what I said.
Is it admissible?
Yes.
They always say it's not admissible in court, but I guess if it's on,
they use it constantly.
Okay.
Yes, most definitely. And more so again, from the side of accusations against an officer to help reinforce that trust in the community. If there's an accusation made for that officer to be able to come back and say it's on video, take a look at it. And
I feel like in my field, sometimes people will sit there and tell me one thing, and I'm like, okay, but then whenever the truth kind of comes out, what they said isn't really true. How often is that the case? And these, you know, you say, no, this is exactly how it went down. I got it all on camera. And you go back and watch the camera, and like your brain tells you one thing, but the camera clearly shows something else.
I think it happens. You know, obviously when a human being is operating under stress, we do this through training. We'll have them under an immense amount of stress, and then go back and have them write a report as to what they experienced. And there may be a little difference in it, but that's how they learn to.
What do you guys do to get stress levels up whenever you're training?
So we call it controlled chaos. It's starts with Shock Sunday, which is the recruits' first day at the academy. We've had guys that are in great shape that are coming in as recruits that have passed out within 5-6 minutes into it. And it is more mental stress than physical.
Like, so they sell insurance for a day.
Right.
That's how I feel like I am sometimes.
It's way harder to do being a cop than it is selling insurance.
I'm sure it is.
And yes, but a lot of times I'm sure insurance agents feel like they can't do anything right. That's how law enforcement is.
Our biggest problem is they stop keeping us on hold. We're playing a game now because we sit on hold for hours and hours.
We'll just write lyrics to their on hold music.
Yeah, we dance to their music.
Right.
Like honestly,
like lemons.
Biloxi City Water, y'all have banger hold music. I ain't gonna lie to you, like, keep it up. But that's I really want to dive in. Like, I want to know, like, you getting into the police academy feel of not only helping yourself but trying to help others see the same passion that you had. Do you feel like that's a force do you think you're going to bring that as sheriff? Do you think that's going to be one thing that you will bring? Is like, I kind of talked to you a little bit about this. I was asking, but like, do you think that, you're going to have your greenhorns, like you're going to have them. It seems like you're the type of person that will take your time with them and work with them. Is this true?
It is. And you can only hope that you will have that influence. I will tell you that all of the classes, all of the souls that have passed through our basic training academy, the one thing that I stress to them is that no matter how capable you are, we have guys and girls that come to us from the military that have been in active combat, that are decorated snipers, that they deserve all the respect in the world, but that respect will never be given without humility. You have to be humble, no matter how capable you are.
I like
the
that.
moment you lose the ability to remain humble, failure will follow.
Do cops still have partners? Is that a thing? I mean, I remember like watching TV as a kid, Chips, Ponch, Shirelli, and John, whatever. Yeah, there was always partners. There was always partners. I feel like I see cops driving around solo now.
Wait a minute. How old are you again?
I'm 86, man, but Nick at Night, baby. Like, we used to get down around that stuff.
That the year Chips was canceled?
Probably,
Great.
but they just made a movie a couple of years ago. So
I used to love the intro of that show.
But I mean, I just remember seeing partners on TV that portrayed it as a two-man job, and then nowadays, most of the time you see, a police officer car riding around. There's just one guy in it. So
larger cities, you see that more. We still have units that our reserve unit, which does not get half the credit it should. They're great. I mean, they keep this agency afloat from a financial standpoint and manpower and service. My goodness, that going forever, but. You'll see them out with folks and on their own. They do the same job we do. You'll see trainees with field training officers, but larger cities, those venues, you're going to see more of the two-man units.
Okay. What about return to work for these inmates? I mean, is there some kind of program that gets them back into society, turns them back into functioning, tax-paying citizens?
You have the largest jail, correct? On the coast, right?
On the coast, yes.
Yeah.
That thing's huge. We drive by it on the interstate, right?
It is.
With the big dog track, training track outside. That's a great
question, though.
Yeah. Is there any kind of what do you guys do to try to rehabilitate some of these?
We have programs that are in place in the jail. Our legislature has come up with a great program that I'm hoping will be implemented here that addresses just that. It allows individuals to work, to learn trades, and to earn credit time for those trades and time served. So, yeah, absolutely.
I feel like if you don't take those steps, you're really just setting these guys up to be repeat offenders or to come back in.
Counterproductive.
Yeah, it really is counterproductive. And then it just becomes a burden on taxpayer dollars at that point. So, I mean, anytime that you can, I guess, change a life, I feel all about it. So,
no doubt.
What are you trying to put into place that's not in place yet? You know anything? I mean,
so I think that you have to look no further than each of our cities to see that we have a problem on the streets with individuals that are committing misdemeanor offenses that aren't going to jail. We have a plan to address that. I think that it has a direct effect on economic prosperity. It has a direct effect on business owners. Stop and talk with them. There's no doubt we need to take a different direction there.
How does the sheriff's office sit in comparison to like the city of Biloxi, city of Iberville? I mean, as far as an authoritative, or can you explain that any?
So Harrison County Sheriff's Office technically has jurisdiction throughout the entire county. Municipalities are formed and they have their own law enforcement within those jurisdictions, such as Biloxi, Gulfport, Long Beach, Pass Christian. We serve as the primary law enforcement for unincorporated Harrison County, and then as a backup for the jurisdictions that are municipalities now. We also operate task force within those jurisdictions, that your narcotics task forces and such that operate throughout the entire county.
What's that big armor truck you have? That thing's cool. What is that called?
The Batmobile?
MRAP.
You haven't seen that stuff.
MRAP? No, I hope I never do.
I've been to a few events. This thing is massive. It is like.
See, in my mind, I'm picturing Super Troopers, where like one unit's trying to take away the case from the other unit because it was on the city line, and they're like, "No, this is ours to solve."
Let me say this though. Remember the game Twisted Metal?
Yeah, love that game.
It's bigger. It is the biggest. How big is that? Like the tires on that? Like they got to be 50s.
What do you do with it?
I don't know. I just see it ride down because I live by the sheriff's department. This thing is. I'm surprised. It's massive. Like it's an earth mover.
Do they let you drive it?
Could we do a ride along?
Yeah,
and run something over.
There's a couple of people within our agency that are certified to drive it. Takes some special training. It is a unique vehicle. It's very heavy. There's some bridges in our county it can't even cross.
Really?
Can I address something real quick? All right. So we have. Let's go to our comments. Got Chris Smith. The key to using pepper spray is to never run towards the person you're trying to spray. Matt, Mississippi City was nearly chosen by the Mississippi State legislation to be the site of the University of Mississippi.
Wow, or to save some gas money.
John, what are the main objectives and responsibilities of the position that you are running for, and what changes are you planning at the sheriff's office?
So I'll go back to my platform on that one. And let me just say that I think the sheriff's office, just like any business that is run well, spending has to be prioritized, number one, and you have to take care of your employees, number two. I think that sometimes as we were just doing, we talk about the sheriff's office and the first thing that comes to mind is patrol. The truth of the matter is there's so many divisions within the sheriff's office.
Let's talk. I mean, you got your dispatch.
You have dispatch.
What else?
Our lifeline.
What else you got?
You have corrections, which houses our largest amount of employees. They have a very, very difficult job. We're a large number of people down right now. It's the guys that work in the jail.
Okay.
They are there for 12 hours, and I don't think you could come any closer to being incarcerated than working that job, having to face the things that
like you're in prison, but you get a check.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a very, very difficult job that so often goes unnoticed, unthanked. I think that with corrections and every other division within this agency, from the civilian jobs of our records folks to administrative jobs to training to K9 to narcotics, all of these guys and girls, our SWAT team. I mean, when you start counting, there is a number of divisions that operate within this agency.
And like me, I just look at it and it's like, okay, there's the police.
You see the one car with the lights on it,
black and gold.
And I'm sure I'm not the only one that thinks that way, to be honest with you.
Sure.
You know? But I thought the same thing about insurance when I first got. I was like, man, there's so many different career fields just in this one, line of work.
How many people, in in Harrison County Sheriff's Department, how many employees? Do you know around the number?
We hover in the 300s.
And
Wow.
is that including reserves?
The reserves, the corrections, our admin, records, you name it.
All right, shout out to Mo. I love you.
Yes.
Mo Handler.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just had lunch with him at the Death Sports and Sons, and he
Good guy.
I hope he's doing well. Like he battled some health issues.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I went to Death Sports and Sons. Shout out to them too. We will plug you on the show.
Yeah. We will.
I love eating local, but
Yes.
I got to sit next to Mo, and he looked great. And I said, "Are you done?" He goes, "No." He's like, "No, I'm getting better." But he was looking good. And Mo, still praying for you, bud.
Yes, definitely.
Just wanted to say
I just
that.
saw him last week. He looked great.
There's so many people though. It's like, I mean, like Harrison County is a massive family.
It is.
I mean, is it the biggest county? I don't know. I feel like
has
it is. Yeah.
What's the first?
Rankin.
Where's that at?
North.
I haven't been there.
Yes.
It's past Hasburg.
Yes.
Jackson, ain't it? Is it by Jackson?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I know that. I mean, as far as whenever I'm out on the streets, and I typically see a Harrison County sheriff, it's like 67. It's like that intersection between 49 and 67. Typically, when I'm coming in from the hunting camp or somewhere up north, but they just typically sit in the same spots all day. And I don't ever really see them have anybody pulled over or anything. But it's almost like they're out there just looking for somebody to slip up. Is that their agenda, is to manage traffic and control traffic, or are
No,
they?
actually, traffic, going back to priorities, and I can tell you that knowing these guys that are out there on patrol, that's down on the list of priorities. They're answering calls back to back. Again, there's so many divisions that operate within this agency, and a lot of what you see may be criminal interdiction units that are out there solely looking for these individuals that are moving drugs and money and human trafficking. They target that are on these main thoroughfares.
I hear
So
you.
you see that a lot, and people will think that they're out actually just working traffic.
That's what I always just assumed, and I'm like, man, there's guys flying by me right
Back
there.
to
And tell them
perception,
over.
man.
Perception, yeah.
Does the sheriff make the decision on promotions?
So the final say so to that answer is yes. And policy dictates a lot. Each division head dictates a lot. I don't mind giving you a little insight.
Because it's look, honestly, I hope people watch this and you grab a few people to go work at your place.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Guys, thank you for tuning in to us, but this is the Jordan Matthews Show.
Yeah, we just march the beat of our own drum over here.
This is how we gain knowledge. So
man, that's the best way of communication.
So yeah, it's so you make the final call. Like somebody you of course the way they do the paperwork, how they, it's a survey. Everything's a survey. So you are like a sheriff is the one that makes the final call on, hey, now you're a detective or you're an investigator.
What are you looking for to know that you're doing a good job?
I think that you have to look at statistics. That does not lie. It takes opinion out of the equation. Let me back up and tell you, just give you a little bit of insight into our
You can back up as much as you want, bud.
Man.
It's your floor.
So just this past year, we had a position open at the training academy. It was a lieutenant's position. Very important job. Anyone that has influence over our new law enforcement, that molds them, that sends them in whatever direction they're going to go in, it's able to identify deficiencies and correct them. Man, huge job. So I tried something just a little bit different. We reached out to individuals that were outside the agency. I did put 3 people on an oral interview board instead of 3 people from within that are familiar with the individual personally, and created a really non-biased board, a professional board that had a lot of integrity. There was several people that interviewed for the position, and they all felt good after that. And that's what you have to look for. You can't if there's 4 people that apply for a position, you don't want 3 of them walking away disgruntled. You want them to feel like they had a fair shot at that promotion, and that if it wasn't meant to be that time, they're going to come back and get a fair shot again. Yes, no doubt. So Yeah, that seemed to work. And I think where you implement fairness and non-bias, you come up with the best product.
Do you in situations, I mean, of course, working with a lot of people, there's always a toxic environment. So in any business, I mean, in any job, it's not perfect. How did you as like, a major, how do you maintain and to be strong and to have leadership values, like going towards that, being a cop, I would suggest you're 12 hours on, 12 hours off. You're married, you got family problems. I mean, of course, which I've never understood, like the pay of officers is very low. School teachers, same thing. Shocking to me, very shocking to me. But like, how do you, because these guys are out there, 12 hours a day, and they're like, they come to you, for some personal reasons, because that happens. I mean, you're like a brother, you're like a dad. I mean, do you enjoy that? Is something that you take pride in?
You do, and you take it seriously. I think that when someone trusts you enough to reach out to you and needs to talk, you take that seriously. You treat them as you would want to be treated. That's going to be the deciding factor on success or catastrophic failure from that point. And that's a heavy, heavy weight to bear, no doubt. But man, we've got some great girls and guys working in this agency that, they learn from you, and then others come to them, reach out to them. It's neat to see that process carry on.
Were females in the force back in the day when you started, or is that
Yes.
something new?
Absolutely.
Okay, I don't know. See, I just sound like a big sexist.
It's Jordan
idiot
Matthews
on
show.
here.
You ask any question you want.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
So when I started,
Surely there's more now than there was then, right?
I'm going with you on that one.
yeah, there was a good number then and a good number now. And
Have you ever got beaten up by a girl in training?
no, thank goodness. But there's a
I just
couple
remember
of them that I have no doubt are
The
capable
scene
of
from
doing it.
Police
Yeah.
Academy where they had to train against the big blonde-headed girl.
Yeah.
Some tough ladies that I've seen come through our program. Some of them work with our agency. That, man, if somebody ends up on the wrong side of them, I feel for them.
What kind of training do they give you guys hand to hand? I mean, surely there is some. Is it jiu-jitsu or what is it?
It's a combination. What they try and do is take skill sets from all the different disciplines and take what applies best and works best for law enforcement.
Okay. Do you think the guy that did the Detroit defense classes, you think he's a real expert? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Man, I wish you had the videos right now.
Yeah,
Garrett.
guy. So there's this guy that's like he was teaching courses.
He'd give people like a fake gun and be like, try to pull the trigger. And then he'd like,
And they pull the
grab the gun out of his hand.
And he's wearing like full combat clothes, but he's having a course, like get you prepped. And it's like every time people just take the gun from him. I'm like, but this guy went viral on social media. I'm like, that doesn't seem safe.
No, we try and keep things as close to reality as we can. And two, there's also a time when if you take training to the extremes every time where someone's trying to take your gun or someone's every call trying to kill you, you send individuals out on the road that have a chip on their shoulder and are treating people like they're about to kill them. You just can't do that.
Right.
You have to train in a realistic environment.
So how does the force, you see this a lot. You see a lot of the officers, you see a couple officers that kind of, they're kind of heroic, but they got that kind of energy of like, they talk in a certain way, like I'm a cop. But then you have the cops that like really love what they do and let people talk shit to them. And you're seeing it more common now where it's like, you pull a cop over and now they're videoing for TikTok and they're trying, they're just, I know my rights, I know my laws, blah, 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 blah. I just get how does nowadays 2023, how does a force, stay positive? Like I just think y'all have a tough job. And see that like you get love, but you also get where it's like,
I mean, I've met cops on both ends of the spectrum that were the coolest, and then the ones that are like, I am the law, like Judge Dredd.
I can't handle them cops.
Yeah.
Normally they have barbed wire tattoos. I'm outing you.
Look, I'm a firm believer that every profession has bad
100%.
apples.
100%.
There's no doubt. And unfortunately, law enforcement's bad apples can tend to cause a lot of problems. But
Well, they only want to give the bad apples the publicity. They don't want everyone to give somebody a pat on the back for a job well done. Unfortunately, that's the society that we live in these days. So.
And again, I don't want to make light of that, but where we are in our community, we should be grateful because we do have folks out there in the media. And again, the media houses bad apples.
Oh, for sure. That's all they want to do is
yeah, that's why we're
highlighted.
and guess what, guys?
Yeah,
we're here
like
to change things up.
But no, it's a true thing. Like I was telling you here with us, it's like, honestly, we didn't know people would listen to us.
And they might not. And we're not doing it for them. We're doing it for us.
This is a very time to support. I think my support for law and politics and voting is my early 20s. Because I knew that I wanted to that's how you make a change. We said that earlier, but it's a real important part of it. Sheriff sounds sketchy to me because it seems like it's just a lot of work.
Sheriff seems like Andy Griffith, one horse town.
But
we're not that. We're not that. But when I hear the word sheriff, I think immediately Clint Eastwood,
but
like
we're
Western.
We're talking, you got Biloxi, you got Gulfport, you got
Long Beach.
PDs, but then you got Harrison County Sheriff where they patrol it all.
What about these cop conventions where I like roll up to the hotel or something like that?
Can you sign off on your guns?
Billion cop cars there. Is that all training that they're doing, or is that like, hey, we're showing off the new?
So I'll tell you that you don't know from time to time. I'll give you an example. Our training academy hosts a lot of in-service and specialized training. We've had classes where we've brought in close to 200 people from all over the region, Louisiana, Texas, Florida. We had that at Treasure Bay.
I feel like I saw that. Yeah, that's
what I saw a number of police cars there
from everywhere. And I'm like, man, what's going on right now?
They're about to bust you.
Do I need to go? I need to go home.
I've had people call me like, hey, what's going on, man? We just saw like 25 police cars in line going up 67. And they think that something's wrong, but in all reality, these guys are in line and headed to the firing range for training.
So when the shit hits the fan, is there some kind of radio beacon that we all need to be listening to so we can mount up and join forces, or is that just make believe in my head?
I hope we have contact in our phone.
Feel myself. All right. Sorry, okay.
The thing is, there's always room for improvement. Communication's at the very core of success, and I think that we could certainly improve on our communications. We're living in a time where we are not able to talk on our radios to some surrounding agencies. I think that's got to be changed, no doubt.
Is that just to keep secrets housed, or is that you don't want any cross-examination? I don't know. I mean, because back in the day, it used to be a scanner, right? People, even the public could go get a scanner and they can listen to what's going on. Now it's all digital. You can't do that anymore.
Right.
My girlfriend, she loves it. Every time the cop drives by our house, she's outside like, what's going on? I need to know. So I was like, yeah, buy a scanner. So she downloaded one on her phone. And for like a week, she's sitting there walking around the house like, oh my gosh, this is so crazy. What's going on? And I'm like, I'm glad someone's getting a kick out of it. These guys are out there working their butts off.
The craziest thing is that the scanners truly proved to be a tool that helped law enforcement, because there was so many people that listened to what was going on that would call in and say, hey, the guy you're chasing is actually over here behind my apartment.
Wow.
And communication, man, if we communicate with the public in real time, we can get some things done.
That's how I feel about people that pull over for a funeral. Shout out to you guys. Like I do it.
I do too.
The other day, we had a funeral go by in Biloxi, and there's people that pulling over and they're like honking the horn at me. I'm like, I'm staying right here out of respect. I got to get into this thing though. Have you ever lost anybody on your hour, on your clock? Have you ever lost a person? Like, have you ever lost one of your guys?
I've lost a good friend. I've lost students that have come through the program, and it's heart-wrenching. There's no doubt. Guy that was hired the same day that I was in 1994 died responding to a domestic dispute. It was it's very sobering, no doubt. It's a rough deal. You literally lose a part of you.
Yeah. And you're ready to take that. You're ready to be that guy for once you hit, like, if I'm trying to tell you not to do it, like I honestly, in all fairness, I mean, because it just,
but have you seen how good he looks in this picture right here? Guys, check this
just,
out right here.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just, you're just such a, just dope ass person. And honestly, I consider you a friend. And I don't know. I just think I think it's a very scary time. I mean, not only with, the internet, but I mean, when people started doing like videos on, police brutality, that's some messed up shit. That's some really messed up shit. Like, and it's like, it turned into a game. And I don't know. I mean, you got my support on this, but like, I worry about the future of a lot of new officers. It's tough to get them to sign on board. I mean,
yeah, you better be giving some fast signing bonuses.
What's the signing bonus?
Well, I'll tell you, this is something I firmly believe in. Number one, if you give an individual a good place to go to work where they're proud to go to work each day, they
Sorry about that fly.
No, you're good.
I'm gonna catch that thing.
I told you, I live in the country. It doesn't bother me. So you give them a good place to go to work, a place that they're excited to go to work. And I promise you, that's going to ease the sting of the lack of dollar amounts with that salary. There are things that do need to be addressed there. It's a game of catch up, and it's been that way for years on the coast. There's always some agency that'll pull a rabbit out of the hat. Next thing you know, their patrolmen are making more than our captains. So exploring standardized law enforcement pay is an absolute option.
Do you have control of that, or is there somebody in the state?
That would have to be at a state level if it was even breached. That's going to take a lot of research and thought.
Who is the sheriff boss? There's got to be a boss of the sheriffs.
The people. They elect.
But even at I'm saying at the very tip though, is there anybody in Jackson that controls all the police department, like sheriffs?
So as a law enforcement agency, we're accountable to the Board on Law Enforcement Officer Standards and Training. But as far as the office goes, the sheriff answers to the people. If they're not happy with their sheriff, he's out. It's that simple.
What about incentive programs inside the force? Is there any of those like accident free to get a promotion, or tell me about it?
There's not a whole lot of those there. We lost what we call longevity pay, where you earned extra money each month that you were there, each year that you were there.
Y'all lost that?
Yes, we did years ago, but I think that needs to come back. We can find a way to do it by prioritizing our spending.
Like, don't take that away.
Yeah, no doubt.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Well, bonuses are the way of the world right now. I mean,
That's
you
right.
got to incentivize people.
Not a whole lot of bonuses in law enforcement.
Another question.
Well, this is a bonus. You get to come to the Jordan Matthews show.
For you, though.
Sure.
Do cops really love donuts?
I don't eat a lot of sweets, so I'd say that's pretty much stereotype. But yeah,
Ouch.
It's been a big thing there growing up. I mean, every cartoon, it's always like, I had my match store recently. I decided to close it. Pandemic, just sales are tough. But I remember one time, I had the alarm went off, and this is Gosha. Shout out to Gosha PD. In 1 minute, they were at my place because they knew my. The next day, I went to Tater Nut. My goofy ass went to Tater Nut, and I loaded up with donuts. And I went with Tater Nut donuts, and I went to Gosha PD, and I'm in my 350Z, ricing out. Like I got that car, and then cops looks at me like, huh? And he's seen a stack full of Tater Nut, and I just like, can I help you? I'm like, yeah. I was like, what is this for? I'm like, we thought my back door flew open, and they responded faster than anything. I just want to thank them by donuts. And he said, well, let me bring you this way. And that officer was like, hey,
you got to go in the back.
That guy brought donuts.
He's cool.
That's the guy. I'm like, yes. And ever since then, love them guys.
Well, Lewis, look, we want to have you back on this show.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any doubt. You said you got to get out of here to go to some prior stuff. Give us like a sign off. Give us like your thoughts on this whole.
So the one thing for certain that I will tell you, one of my top priorities is just changing the entire structure of how we address our threat mitigation. And when I say threat mitigation, that includes school security, churches, any places of gathering. You can go on shopping malls and theaters. We have spent billions of dollars as a nation addressing our narcotics issues, which were legitimately spent. But I think that threat mitigation is right up there in priority with that. I'm a huge opponent of status quo. I think that you have to realize that things have to change in how you approach and address our problems. It's a common sense approach. It starts with prioritizing our spending and just tackling these subjects, even where they're difficult. One thing that I teach my two boys is that, you speak the truth, whether it's what people want to hear or not. You're never a yes man. At the end of the day, you may very well lose votes, but you're not going to lose sleep. And that's
Amen to that.
a great
That's
place to
powerful.
be. Yeah. It's not always pretty, but it's just a much better place to be. And it makes life better for our community, for the individuals that work in our agency. And I stand strong by it. So I thank y'all for having me. Y'all are a great example of what this nation stands for.
Well, we
Why we're
appreciate it.
fortunate to live here. It's great.
And I appreciate that. And I got this before you hit that go live button, it's your turn.
Okay, I can do it.
So John, that's Matt's girl. She's part of the clan. So much respect for everyone that works in law enforcement on the front line and behind the scenes. Thank you. She puts up with your shit.
Oh, that's a lot.
Leonard Papania says these are some of the best real guy conversations I've ever heard. So is your wife's pickles. We just talked about it earlier on the podcast. Right. Your wife has the best pickles, and I love you, Leonard.
Okay. Well, Brad Botano says you can only hire one. Harry Callahan, John McClane, or Inspector Gadget. Who's getting the job?
Dear Brad.
Tell him we want to hire Brad Botano. He'd probably look good. Actually, I've seen Brad in the cop uniform before. He did a Village People reenactment one time.
Do we have photos?
They're out there somewhere.
We're gonna get them.
Brad's a great guy. Brad's firm is actually over the construction of our new training academy, and they've done a great.
Was that our
job.
picture?
Huh?
Pleasure to work with. Look at here.
No, he's been.
Oh, Brad's been here. Yeah,
Brad's.
So let's see this. Let's see if we can get it in the camera.
Yeah. And then also Jeremy Goins, shout out to Lighthouse Securities. He met you at Neptune's with Brandon Barbie. Y'all were talking. Jeremy's one of our boys.
Let's see if this will pick up.
Goodness. You can always depend on family, can't you? Wow.
Hey, that was a blast.
Yeah.
All right. Goodbye, guys, and take care.
Thank y'all.
Hey, Matt, this is a great show. This was just killed it.